Francesca Simon, Horrid Harry and a Bogey Babysitter, illustrated by Tony Ross. Horrid Henry, trick and treats. Halloween! Oh, happy, happy day. Horrid Henry could not believe it. An entire day devoted to stuffing your face with sweets and playing horrid tricks. Best of all, you're supposed to stop your face and play horrid tricks. Whoopee! Horrid Henry was armed and ready. He had loo roll. He had water pistols. He had shaving foam. Oh, my! Would he be playing tricks tonight? Anyone who didn't instantly hand over a fistful of sweets would get it for foam, and would be tired than any fool who gave him an apple. Horrid Henry knew how to treat rotten grown-ups like that. His red and black devil costume lay ready on the bed, complete with evil mask, twinkling horns, trident, and whippy tail. He scared everyone wearing that. Ha ha ha, said Horrid Henry, practicing his evil laugh. Harry came a little voice out of his bedroom door. Come and see my new costume. No, said Henry. Oh, please, said Henry. Said his younger brother, Perfect Peter. No, said Henry, I'm busy. You're just jealous because of my costume is nicer than yours, said Peter. I'm not. R2. Come to think of it, that was Peter wearing. Last year, he copied Henry's monster costume and ruined Henry's Halloween. What if he were copying Henry Devil costume? That would be just like a horrible little copycat. All right, you can come in for 2 seconds, said Henry. A pink bouncy bunny bounded into Henry's room. It had little white bunny ears. It had a little white bunny tail, and it had pink polka dots everywhere else. Horrid Henry groaned. What a stupid costume. Thank goodness he wasn't wearing it. Isn't great, said Perfect Peter. No, said Horrid Henry. It's horrible. You're just saying that to be mean. Henry, said Peter, bouncing up and down. I can't wait to go for trick-or-treating in it tonight. Oh no, Horrid Henry felt as if he'd been punched in his stomach. Henry would be excited to go out for trick-or-treating with Peter. Henry would have to walk around with a pink polka dot bunny. Everyone would see him. The shame of it, Ralph would never stop teasing him. Moody Margaret would call him a bunny wunny. How could he play tricks on people with a pink polka dot bunny following him everywhere? He was ruined. His name will be a joke. You can't wear that, said Henry desperately. Yes, I can, said Peter. I won't let you, said Henry. Perfect Peter looked at Henry. You're just jealous. Good. Horrid Henry was about to tear that stupid costume off Peter when suddenly he had an idea. It was painful. It was humiliating. But anything was better than having Peter prancing about in pink polka dots. Tell you that what, said Henry. Just because I'm so nice, I'll let you borrow my monster costume. You always wanted to wear it. No, said Peter. I want to be a bunny. But you're supposed to be scary for Halloween, said Harry. Scary? I'm scary, said Peter. I'm going to bounce up to people and yell boo. I can make you really scary, Peter, said Horrid Henry. How, said Peter. Sit down and I'll show you. Harry patted his desk chair. What are you going to do, said Peter. Suspiciously, he took a step back. Nothing, said Harry. I'm just trying to help you. Perfect Peter didn't move. How can I be scarier? He said cautiously. I can give you a scary haircut, said Henry. Perfect Peter clutched his curls. But I like my hair, he said feebly. This is Halloween, said Harry. Do you want to be scary or don't you? Said Peter, and Harry pushed him downward in a chair and got out the scissors. Not too much, squealed Peter. Of course not, said Horrid Henry. Just sit back and relax. I promise you love this. Horrid Henry twirled the scissors. Snip, 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 snap, snip, snip. Magnificent, thought Horrid Henry. He gazed proudly at his work. Maybe he should be a hairdresser when he grew up. Yes, Harry could see it now. Costumes would queue for miles for one Monsieur Henry's scary snips. Shame his genius was wanted on someone as yucky as Peter still. You look great, Peter, said Henry. Really scary. Atomic bunny. Go and have a look. Peter went over and looked in the mirror. Argh! Scare yourself, did you? Said Henry. That's great. Argh! Howled Peter. Mum ran to the room. Argh! Howled Mum. Argh! Howled Peter. Henry! Screeched Mum. What have you done, you horrid boy? What was left of Peter hair stuck up in raised tufts all over his head. On one side was a big bald patch. I was just making him look scary, protested Henry. He said I could. Harry made me, said Peter. My poor baby, said Mum. She glared at Harry. No trick-or-treating for you, said Mum. You'll stay here. Horrid could hardly believe his ears. This was the worst thing that had ever happened to him. No, Harry, this was Peter's fault. I hate you, Peter, he screeched. Then he attacked. He was medicine coiling round in the victim with her snaky hair. Screeched Peter. Henry, shouted Mum. Go to your room. Mum and Peter left the house to go trick-or-treating when Harry had screamed and sobbed and begged. He put on his devil costume just in case his tears melted their stony hearts. But no, his mean, horrible parents would change their mind. Well, they'd be sorry. They all be sorry. Dad came in his sitting room. He was holding a large shopping bag. Harry, I got some work to finish, so I'm going to let you hand out treats to any trick-or-treaters. Horrid Harry stopped plotting his revenge. Had Dad gone mad? Hand out treats. What kind of punishment was this? Horrid Harry thought to keep big smile on his face. Here's the Halloween stuff. Harry, said Dad. He handed Henry the Harry bag, but remembered he added sternly, these treats are not for you. They're to give away. Yeah, right, thought Henry. Okay, Dad, he said as meekly as he could. Whatever you say. Dad went back to the kitchen. Now was his chance. Horrid Henry leapt on a bag. Well, was it full? He grabbed all the good stuff, threw back anything yucky with lime or peppermint, and he had enough sweets to keep him going for at least a week. Harry opened the bag. A terrible sight met his eyes. The bag was full of satumas and apples and walnuts in their shells. No wonder his horrible parents had trusted him to be in charge of it. Ding dong, slowly, Horrid Henry heaved his heavy bones to the door. There was his empty, useless trick-or-treat bag, sitting forlornly useless trick-or-treat bag, sitting forlornly by the entrance. Harry gave it a kick, then opened the door and glared. What do you want? Snapped Horrid Henry. Trick or treat, whispered Weepy William, he was dressed as a pirate. Horrid Henry held out a pack of horrors. Lucky dip, he announced. Close your eyes for a big surprise. William certainly would be surprised at a rotten grey treat he be getting. Weepy William put down his swag bag, closed his eyes tight, and he then plunged his hand into a Henry's lucky dip. He rummaged, hoping to find something better than Satsumas. Hot Henry's eyed Whippy Williams' bulging swap bag. Go on, Henry, urge the bag. He'll never notice. Hot Henry did not wait to be asked twice. Dip, zip, pop. Hot Henry grabbed a big handful of William's sweets and popped them inside his empty bag. Weepy William opened his eyes. Did you take some of my sweets? No, said Henry. William peeked inside his bag and burst into tears. Whoa, William. Harry took. Harry punished him out and slammed the door. Dad came running. What's wrong? Nothing, said Henry. Just William crying because he's scared of pumpkins. Phew, thought Henry. That was close. Perhaps he had been a little too greedy. Ding dong, it was lazy Linda, weighing a pillowcase over her head. Gorgeous Grinda was with her, dressed as a scarecrow. Trick or treat, close your eyes for a big surprise, said Henry, holding up a lucky dip bag. Oh, a lucky dip, squealed Linda. Lazy Linda and Gorgeous Grinda put down her bags, closed her eyes and reached into a lucky dip. Dip, zip, pop, zip, dip, zip, pop. Lazy Linda opened her eyes. You give the worst treats ever, said Linda, gazing at her walnut in disgust. We won't be back here. Sniffed Gorgeous Grinda. Tee-hee, thought Henry. Ding-dong, it was Beefy Bud. He was wearing a robot costume. Hi, Bud. Got any good sweets? Asked Henry. I don't know, said Beefy Bud. Hood Henry soon out that he did. Lots of them. So did Moody Margaret, Sal Susan, and Jolly Josh, and Tidy Dead. Soon her bag was stuffed with treats. Ding dong, Hood Henry. Hood Henry opened the door. Boo, said Atomic Bunny. Henry see it back. Help, Mum. Would see it. Mum would see it. Eek, screeched Hood Henry. Help, save me. Quickly, he ran upstairs, clutching his bag and hid it safely under his bed. Phew, that was close. Don't be scared, Harry. It's only me, called Perfect Peter. No, Hood Henry came back downstairs. No, said Harry. I never have known. Really, said Peter. Really, said Harry. Everyone just gave sweets this year, said Perfect Peter. Yuck, Hood Henry held off a lucky dip. Oh, Satsuma, said Peter. Aren't I lucky? I hope you learned your lesson, Henry, said Mum sternly. I certainly have, said Hood Henry, eyeing Perfect Peter's bulging bag. Good thing come to those who wait. Hood Henry and a bogey babysitter. No way, shrieked Cheetahs, slamming down the phone. No way, shrieked Krabby Chris, slamming down the phone. No way, shrieked Brianna. Why do you think I am crazy? Evil Mellow Martin said he was busy. Mum hung up the phone and groaned. It was easy finding someone to babysit, more than once for Hood Henry. When Tetchy Test came, horrid, Henry flooded the bathroom. When Krabby Chris came, hid her homework and accidentally poured red grape juice down the front of her new white jeans. And when angry Anna came, Henry, no, it's too dreadful. Suffice it to say that Henry ran screaming from the house, and Henry's parents had to come home early. Hood Henry had babysitters. He was a baby. He didn't want to be sat on. Why should he be nice to some ugly, stuck-up, bossy teenager who hog TV and pick out Henry's biscuits? Parents should just stay at home where they belonged, thought horrid Henry. And now it's looked they would have to. His parents were mean and horrible, but he had a lot of practice managing them. Were unpredictable. Babysitter were hard work, and by the time you broke them into a show him who was the boss. For some reason, they didn't want to come anymore. They only good babysitter. Let's stay up all night and eat sweets until you were sick. Sally, said horrid Henry. Never got one of those. We have to find a babysitter, wailed Mum. The party is tomorrow night. I've tried everyone. Who else is there? There's got to be someone, said Dad. Think, Mum brought that thought. What about Rebecca, said Dad. Who? Horrid Henry heard Mr. Beat. He stopped drawing mustaches on Perfect Peter's school pictures. Maybe he heard wrong. Oh, please! No Rebecca! No Rabbit Rebecca! Who did you say? Asked Henry. His voice quavered. You heard me, said Dad. Rebecca, no! Screamed Henry. She's horrible. She's not horrible, said Dad. She's just strict. There's no one else, said Mum grimly. I phoned Rebecca. She's a monster, wailed Henry. She made Ralph go to bed at 6 o'clock. I like going to bed at 6 o'clock, says Perfect Peter. After all, growing children need their rest. Horrid Henry growled and attacked. There was a creature from Black Lagoon, dragging from foolish mortal down to a wolf tree grave. Aye, squeaked Peter. Henry, pull my head. Stop being horrid Henry, said Dad. Mom's on the phone. Henry prayed maybe she's busy. Maybe she said no. Maybe she'd be dead. He heard all about Rebecca. She made Tough Toby get in his pajamas at 5 o'clock and do all his homework. She unplugged Dizzy Dave's computer. She made Moody Margaret wash the floor. No doubt about it. Robert Rebecca was the toughest teen in the town. Harry lay on the rug and howled. Mum shouted into a phone. You can't. That's great, Rebecca. No, that's just the TV. Sorry for the noise. See you tomorrow. No, wailed Henry. Ding dong, I'll get it, said Perfect Peter. He skipped to the door. Harry flung himself on the carpet. I don't want to have a babysitter, he wailed. The door opened. In walked the biggest, meanest, ugliest, nastiest looking girl Harry had ever seen. Her arms were enormous. Her head was enormous. Her teeth were enormous. She ate elephants for breakfast, crocodiles for lunch, and snacks for toddlers for tea. What have you got to eat? Snarled Rebecca. Now look at step back. Help yourself to do anything in the fridge, said Dad. Don't worry, I will, said Rebecca. Go home, you witch, howled Henry. Bedtime is 9 o'clock, shouted Dad, trying to be heard above Henry's screams. He edged his way carefully past Rebecca's, jumped over Henry, then dashed out the front door. I want to have a babysitter, shrieked Henry. Be good, Henry, said Mum. Weakly, she stepped over Henry, then escaped from a house. The door closed. Horrid Henry was alone in the house with Rabbit Rebecca. He glared at Rebecca. Rebecca glared at him. I've heard all about you, you little creep, growled Rebecca. No one bothers me when I'm babysitting. Horrid Henry stopped screaming. Oh yes, said Horrid Henry. We'll see about that. Rabbit Rebecca spared her fangs. Harry recoiled. Perhaps I'll keep out of her way, he thought when he slipped into a sitting room and turned on the telly. Oh, Mutant Max, hooray! How bad could life when a brilliant program like Mutant Max was on? Harry annoyed Rebecca as soon as it was over. Rebecca stopped into a room and snatched the clicker. Zap! Da-doom! Da-doo! 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 Do! Da! Tangled some horrible spangly dances. Hey, said Henry, I'm watching Mutant Max. Tough, said Rebecca. I'm watching ballroom dancing. Snatch! Horrid Henry grabbed the clicker. Zap! And it's mutants were snatch! Zap! Da-doo, da-doo, da-da-doo, da-doo, da. Do-da-doo-da, da-da-doo-da, do-da. Horrid Henry tangled round the storm room, gliding and spinning. Stop it, muttered Rebecca. Harry shimmered back and forth in front of the telly, blocking that view and singing along as loudly as he could. Da-doo, 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 da. Robert Henry. I'm warning you, hissed Rebecca. Perfect Peter walked in. He had already put on his blue bunny pajamas, brushed his teeth, and combed his hair. He held a game of Chinese checkers in his hands. Rebecca, will you play a game with me before I go to bed? Asked Peter. No, roared Rebecca. I'm trying to watch TV. Shut up and go away. Perfect Peter leaped back. But I found one since I was ready for bed, he stammered. I've got better things to do than to play with you, snarled Rebecca. Now go to bed this minute, both of you. But it's not my bedtime for hours, protested Henry. I want to watch Mutamax. Not mine, said Perfect Peter timidly. There's this nature program. Go, howled Rebecca. No, howled Henry. Roar! Roared Rabbit Rebecca. Horrid Henry did not know how it happened. It was as if fiery dragon's breath had blasted him upstairs. Somehow, he was in his pajamas in bed, and it was only 7 o'clock. Rabbit Rebecca, switch off the lights. Don't even think of moving from that bed, she hissed. If I see you, or hear you, or even smell you, you'll be sorry you were born. I'll stay downstairs, you stay upstairs, and that way no one then will hurt. Then she marched out of the room and slammed the door. Horrid Henry was so shocked he could not move. Horrid Henry, the bulldozers of babysitters. The terror of teachers, the bully of brothers was in bed, lights out, and 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, 2 hours before his bedtime. This was an outrage. He could hear Moody Margaret shrieking next door. He could hear toddler Tom zooming about on his tricycle. No one went to bed at 7 o'clock, not even toddlers. Worst of all, he was thirsty, so what if she told me to stay in bed? Thought Horrid Henry. I'm thirsty. I'm going to go downstairs and get myself a glass of water. It's my house and I do what I want. Horrid Henry did not move. I'm trying to thirst there. Thought Horrid Henry. Mum and Dad will come home and I'll be the dried out stick instead. And boy will she be in trouble. Horrid Henry still did not move. Go and feed, urged Henry. Let's just step on down and I get an old glass of water. So if that bogey babysitter said she had to stay in bed, what could she do to him? She could chop off my head and bounce it on the stairs, thought Henry. Eek! Well, let her try. Horrid Henry remembered who he was. The boy who'd sent teachers shrieking from a classroom. The boy who destroyed a demon dinner lady. The boy who had run away from home and almost reached the Congo. I will get up and get a drink of water, he thought. Sneak, sneak, sneak. Horrid Henry crept to the room door. Slowly he opened and creak, then slowly he opened the door and bit more and slipped out. Arg! There was Rabbit Rebecca, sitting at the top of the stairs. Yes, said Rebecca, and stay up till my parents come home. Yes, said Rebecca, and eat all the ice cream in the fridge. Yes, shrieked Rebecca, just get rid of that deal, Horrid Henry. He dashed to his room and grabbed the jar. Rebecca hid her eyes as Horrid Henry scooped up the spider. What beauty! What a beauty! It's gone, said Henry. Rebecca opened her beady red eyes. Right, back to bed, you little brat. What, said Henry? Bed now, screeched Rebecca. But we agreed, said Henry. What's tough, said Rebecca. That was then. Traitor, said Henry. He whipped out the spider jar from behind his back and unscrewed the lid. Oh, God, he said. "Aye!" whimpered Rebecca. Horrid Henry advanced menacingly towards her. "No!" wailed Rebecca, stepping back. "Now get in that room and stay here," ordered Henry, "or else." Rebecca skedaddled into the bathroom and locked the door. "If I see you here or even smell you, you'll be sorry you were born," said Henry. "I already am," said Rebecca. Horrid Henry spent a lovely evening in front of a telly. He watched scary movies. He ate ice cream and sweet and biscuits and crisp until he could stop no more. In vroom vroom, open parents' home. Horrid Henry dashed upstairs and leapt into bed just as the front door opened. Mum and Dad looked around the sitting room, littered with sweet wrappers, biscuit crumbs, and ice cream cartons. "You did tell her to help herself," said Mum. "Still," said Dad. "What a pig!" "Never mind," said Mum proudly. "At least she managed to get Henry to bed." "That's a first." Rebecca staggered in the room. "Did you get enough to eat?" said Dad. "No," said Rebecca. "Oh," said Dad. "Was everything all right?" asked Mum. Rebecca looked at her. "Can I go now?" said Rebecca. "Any chance you could babysit on Saturday?" asked Dad hopefully. "What do you think? I am crazy," shrieked Rebecca. Slam! Upstairs, Horrid Henry groaned rats. It was so unfair. Just when he had a babysitter beautifully trained, for some reason they wouldn't come back. Horrid Henry's raid. "You're such a pig, Susan." "No, I'm not. You're a pig." "You are," squealed Moody Margaret. "You are," squealed Sour Susan. "Oink, oink." Was not well as Moody Margaret's secret club. Sour Susan and Moody Margaret glared at each other inside the secret club tent. Moody Margaret waved an empty biscuit tin in Sour Susan's face. "Someone ate all the biscuits," said Moody Margaret. "It wasn't me." "Well, it wasn't me," said Susan. "Liar, liar." Margaret stuck out her tongue at Susan. Susan stuck out her tongue at Margaret. Margaret yanked Susan's hair. "Ow, you horrible meanie," shrieked Susan. "I hate you." She yanked Margaret's hair. "Ow!" screeched Moody Margaret. "How dare you!" They scowled at each other. "Wait a minute," said Margaret. "You don't think not a million miles away, sitting on a throne instead, the Purple Hand thought. Hidden behind prickly branches, Horrid Henry wiped a few biscuit crumbs from his mouth and burped. Boy, nothing beats the taste of an old enemy's biscuits. The branch parted. Password, his Horrid Henry. Smelly toads. Enter, said Henry. The sentry entered and gave a secret handshake. Henry, why? Began Perfect Peter. Call me by my title, worm. Sorry, Henry, I mean Lord High Excellency Majesty of the Purple Hand. That's better, said Henry. He waved his hand and pointed at the ground. Be seated, worm. Why am I worm, you and your Lord High Excellent Majesty? Because I'm a leader, said Henry. I want a better title, said Peter. All right, said the Lord Excellent Majesty, High Excellent Majesty. You can be Lord Worm. Peter considered. What about Long High Worm? Oh, said Henry. Then he throws Worm first up. Perfect Peter peeked through the leaves. Enemies approaching, he warned. Pounding feet. Pause outside the entrance. Password, said Henry. Horrid Henry. Dog poop breath, said Margaret. Bursting in, South Susan fold. That's not the password, said Henry. You can't come in, squeaked the sentry. A little late. You've been stealing a secret club biscuits, said moody Margaret. Yes, said Susan. Henry, said Susan. Hood and stretch and yawn. Prove it. Moody Margaret pointed to all the crumbs lying on the dirt floor. Where did all the crumbs come from then? Biscuits, said Henry. So you admitted, shrieked Margaret. Purple Hand biscuits, said Henry. He's pointing to the Purple Hand School and Crossbones biscuit tin. Liar, liar, pants on fire, said Margaret. Hood and fell to the floor and started rolling around. Oh, my pants are on fire! I'm burning! Call the fire brigade! Shouted Henry. Perfect Peter dashed off. Mom, he hollered. Harry's pants are on fire! Margaret and Susan made a hasty retreat. Hood and stopped rolling and howled with laughter. Ha 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 ha! Ha! The Purple Hand rules, he crackled. We'll gift you for this, Henry said. Henry, said Margaret. Yeah, said Henry. You didn't really steal the biscuit, did you, Henry? Asked Lord High Worm the following day, as if said Horrid Henry. Now get back to guard duty. Our enemies may be planning revenge attack. Why do I always have to be the guard, said Peter. It's not fair. Whose club is this, said Henry fiercely. Peter's lip began to tremble. You're smarter, Peter. So if you want to stay as temporarily wary, remember you have to do what I say, said Henry. Okay, said Peter. Tribute to a leader, said moody Margaret. I still don't think it's fair, muttered Susan. Tough, said Margaret. Now let's hear our spy report. No. Screeched a voice from outside. Susan and Margaret dashed out of her secret club tent. They were too late. There was Henry prancing off, waving a secret club banner he stole and give that back, Henry, screamed Margaret. Make me, said Henry. Susan chased him. Henry darted. Margaret chased him. Henry dodged. Come and get me, taunted Henry. All right, said Margaret. She walked towards him, then suddenly jumped over the wall into Henry's garden and ran the purple hand fort. Hey, get away from there, shouted Henry, chasing after her. Where was that useless sentry when you needed him? Margaret nabbed Henry's school and crossbones flag and darted off. The two leaders faced each other. Give me my flag, ordered Henry. Give me my flag, ordered Margaret. You first, said Henry. You first, said Margaret. Neither moved. Okay, at the count of 3, I will throw them each other to each other, said Margaret. 1, 2, 3, throw! Margaret held on to hold Henry's flag. Henry held on to Margaret's flag. Several moments passed. Cheater, said Margaret. Cheater, said Henry. I don't know about you, but I have important spying work on. Get on with. Said Margaret. So, said Henry. Get on with it. No one stopping you. Draw my flags, Henry, said Margaret. No, said Henry. Fine, said Margaret. Susan, bring me the scissors. Susan ran out off. Peter, shouted Henry. Worm, Lord High Worm. Peter stuck his head out of the upstairs window. Peter, fetch the scissors, quick, ordered Henry. No, said Peter. You fired me, remember. And he slammed the window shut. You're dead, Peter, shouted Henry. Susan came back with the scissors and gave them to Margaret. Margaret held up scissors to Henry's flag. Henry didn't budge. She wouldn't dare snip. Oh, Moody Margaret cut off a corner of Henry's flag. She held the scissors poised to make another cut. Horrid Henry had spent hours painting his beautiful flag. He knew he was beat. Stop, shrieked Henry. He dropped Margaret's flag. Margaret dropped his flag. Slowly they inched towards each other, then dashed to grab their own flag. Truce, said Moody Margaret, beaming truce. Truce, said Horrid Henry, scowling. Horrid Henry, scowling. I'll get her for this, thought Horrid Henry. No one touches my flag and lives. Horrid Henry watched and waited until it was dark, and he heard the plinky plonk sound of Moody Margaret's practicing her piano. Coast was clear. Horrid Henry sneaked outside, jumped over the wall, and darted inside the secret club tent. Swoop! He swept up the secret club pencils and secret code book snatch. He snaffled the secret club stool. Grab! He bagged the secret club biscuit in. Was that everything? No. Scoop! He snatched the secret club motto. Down with boys. Pounce! He snatched the secret club carpet. Horrid Henry looked around. The secret club tent was bare. Except for Henry considered. Should he? Yes. Whisks! The secret club tent collapsed. Henry gathered into his arms, while the rest of his spoils. Huffing and puffing, gasping and panting, Horrid Henry staggered up over the wall, landed with the secret club Raiding was hot, heavy work, but the pirate had to do his duty. Wood all this beauty looked great decorating his fort. A rug gone to the floor was an extra biscuit tin, a repeated motto, "Thou of girls." Yes, the Purple Hand fort would have to be renamed with the Purple Hand Palace. Speaking of which, where was the Purple Hand fort? Fort Henry looked about wildly for the fort entrance. It was gone. Harry searched for the Purple Hand throne. It was gone, and the Purple Hand biscuit tin gone. There was a rustling sound in the shadows. Fort Henry turned and saw a strange sight. There was a Purple Hand fort leaning against the shed. What? Suddenly the fort stopped moving slowly. Jerkily the fort wobbled across the lawn towards the wall on his four new stumpy legs. Lord Henry was livid. How dare someone try to nix this fort? This was an outrage. What was the world coming to when people just sneaked to your garden and made off with your fort? Well, no way. Lord Henry let out a pirate roar. Roar, roared Henry. Arg, shrieked the fort. Crash! The Purple Hand fort fell off the ground. The raiders ran off squabbling. I told you, hurry, you lazy lump. You're the lazy lump. Victory! Lord Henry climbed to the top of his fort and grabbed his banner, waving it proudly. He chanted his victory chant. Na na nay na na. Lord Henry's car journey. Henry, we're waiting. Henry, get down there. Henry, I'm warning you. Lord Henry sat on his bed and scowled. His mean, horrible parents could warn him, and they liked he wasn't moving. Harry, we're going to be late, yelled Mum. Good, shouted Henry. Henry, this is your final warning, yelled Dad. I don't want to go to Polly's, screamed Henry. I want to go to Ralph's birthday party. Mum stomped upstairs. Well, you can't, said Mum. You're coming to the christening, and that's that. No, screeched Henry. I hate Polly. I hate babies. And I hate you. Harry had been a page boy at the wedding of his cousin Prissy Polly. When she married Pimply Paw, now they had a prissy, pimply baby vomiting Vera. Harry had met Vera once before. She'd thrown up all over him. Harry hoped never to see her again until she was grown up and being behind bars. But not such luck. He had to go and watch her be drunk in a vat of water on the same day Ralph was having a birthday party at Goose Shooter World. Harry had been longing for age to go to Goose Shooter World. Today was his chance, his only chance, but no, everything was ruined. Perfect Peter poked his head round the door. I'm all ready, Mum, said Perfect Peter. His shoes were polished, his teeth were brushed, and his hair nearly combed. I know how annoying it is to be kept waiting when you're in a rush. Thank you, darling Peter, said Mum. At least one of my children knows how to behave. Lord Henry roared and attacked. He was swooping vulture, digging his claws into a dead mouse. Ah! Squealed Peter. Stop being horrid, Henry, said Mum. No one told me it was today, screeched Henry. Yes, we did, said Mum. But you weren't paying attention. As usual, said Dad. I knew where we were going, said Peter. I don't want to go to Polly's, screamed Henry. I want to go to Ralph's. Get in a car now, said Dad. Oh no, TV for a year. said Mum. Eek! Horrid Harry stopped wailing. No TV for a year. Anything was better than that. Grimly, he stopped down the stairs and out of the front door. They wanted him in the car. They had him in the car. Don't slam the door, said Mum. Slam! Horrid Harry pushed Peter away from the car door and scrambled for the right-hand side behind the driver. Perfect Peter grabbed his legs and tried to climb over him. Victory! Harry got free first. Harry liked sitting on the right-hand side, so he could watch the speedometer. Peter liked sitting on the right-hand side, so he could watch the speedometer. Mum, yeah, said Peter, it's my turn to sit on the right. No, it isn't, said Henry. It's mine. Mine! We haven't even left and already you're fighting, said Dad. You take turns, said Mum. You can swap after we stop. Vroom, vroom. Dad started the car. The door's locked. Horrid Henry was trapped. But wait, was there a glimmer of hope? Was there a teeny tiny chance? What was this? Mum always said when he and Peter was grabbing in the car, if you don't stop fighting, I'm going to turn around and go home. And wasn't home just exactly where he wanted to be. All he had to do was to do what he did best. Could I have a story tape, please? Said Perfect Peter. No, I want a music tape, said Horrid Henry. I want Mouse Goes to Town, said Peter. I want Driller Cannibal's Greatest Hits, said Henry. Story, music, smack, whir! Stop it, Henry, said Mum. Tell Peter to leave me alone, screamed Henry. Tell Henry to leave me alone, screamed Peter. Leave each other alone, said Mum. Horrid Henry glared at Perfect Peter. Perfect Peter glared at Horrid Henry. Horrid Henry stretched, slowly, steadily, centimeter by centimeter. He spread out into Peter's area. Harry's on my side. No, I'm not. Harry, leave Peter alone, said Dad. I mean it. I'm not doing anything, said Henry. Are we there yet? No, said Dad. 30 seconds passed. Are we there yet? Said Horrid Henry. No, said Mum. Are we there yet? Said Horrid Henry. No, screamed Mum and Dad. We only left 10 minutes ago, said Dad. 10 minutes! Horrid Henry felt of his. We're travelling for hours. Are we there yet? Are we a quarter of the way there yet? No! Are we halfway there yet? No! How much longer we're halfway there? Stop it, Henry, screamed Mum. You're driving me crazy, screamed Dad. Now be quiet and leave us alone. Harry sighed. Boy, what's this boring? Why didn't they have a decent car with built-in video games, music and jacuzzi? That's just what he have. When he was a king. Softly, he started to him under his bed. Harry's humming. Stop being Horrid Henry. I'm not doing anything, protested Henry. He lifted his foot. Mom, screamed Peter. Harry's kicking me. Are you kicking him and Henry? Not yet, muttered Henry. Then he screamed, Mom, Peter looking out of my window. Dad, Henry looking out of my window. Peter breathed on me. Harry's breathing loud on purpose. Harry staring at me. Peter's on my side. Tell him to stop, screamed Henry and Peter. Mum's face was red. Dad's face was red. That's it, screamed Dad. I can't take this anymore, screamed Mum. Yes, thought Henry. We're going to turn back. but instead of turning round, the car screamed to a halt at the motorway services. "We're going to take a break," said Mum. "She looks exhausted." "Who needs a wee?" said Dad. "He looked even worse." "Me," said Peter. "Henry." "No," said Henry. "He wasn't a baby. He knew he needed a wee, and he didn't need one now." "This is only one stop, Henry," said Mum. "I think you should go." "No," screamed Henry. Several people looked up. "We're going to take a break," said Mum. "She looks exhausted." "Who needs a wee?" said Dad. "He looked even worse." "Me," said Peter. "Me." "Henry." "No," said Henry. "He wasn't a baby. He knew he needed a wee, and he didn't need one now. This is our only stop." "Only stop, Henry," said Mum. "I think you should go." "No," screamed Henry. Several people looked up. "I went in the car. Mum and Dad were too tired to argue. They disappeared into her services with Peter. Rats, despite his best efforts. It looked like Mum and Dad were going to carry on. Well, if he couldn't make them turn back, maybe he could delay them. Somehow, suddenly, Henry had a wonderful, spectacular idea. It could be easier, and was guaranteed to work. He missed the christening. Mum, Dad, and Peter got back into car. Mum drove off. "I need a wee," said Henry. "Not now, Henry." "I need a wee," screamed Henry. "Now!" Mum headed back to the services. Dad and Henry went to the toilets. "I'll wait for you outside," said Dad. "Hurry up, or we'll be late." Late! Late! What a lovely word! Harry went into a toilet and locked the door. Then he waited and waited and waited. Finally, he heard Dad's grumpy voice. "Henry, have you fallen in?" Henry rattled the door. "I'm locked in," said Henry. "The door's stuck. I can't get out." "Try, Henry," pleaded Dad. "I have," said Henry. "I guess they'll have to break the door down. That should take a few hours." He settled himself on the toilet, sat and got out a comic. "Or you could just crawl underneath a pottery turn into a next door," said Dad. "Ugh!" Harry could have burst into tears. Wasn't it just his rotten luck to try to get in the toilet which had gasps on the sides? Harry didn't much fancy wiggling round on the cold floor. Sighting, he gave a stall door and tug and opened it. Horrid Harry sat in silence for the rest of the trip. He was so dressed he didn't even protest when Peter demanded his turn on a bright plus. He felt car sick. Harry rolled down his window. "Mum," said Peter, "I'm cold." Dan turned the heat on, waving a heat on. "Makes me feel sick," said Henry. "I'm going to be sick," whimpered Peter. "I'm going to be sick," whined Henry. "But we're almost there," screeched Mum. "Can't you hold until blech?" Peter threw up all over Mum. "Blech!" Harry threw up all over Dad. The car pulled into a driveway. Mum and Dad staggered out of the car to Polly's front door. "We survived," said Mum, mopping her dress. "Thank God, that's over," said Dad, mopping his shirt. Horrid Harry scuffed his feet sadly behind them. Despite all his hard work, he lost the battle. While Rudolph and Dizzy Dave and Jolly George were dashing about spraying each other with green goo later this afternoon, he'd be stuck at a boring party with lots of grown-ups yakking. Oh, misery! Ding dong, the old door opened. It was Prissy Polly. She was in a bathrobe and slippers. She carried the stinky, smelly, wailing baby over her shoulder. Pimply Paw frowned. Fold. He was wearing a filthy t-shirt with "Sit down the front." "Eek!" squealed Polly. Mom tried to look if she had not been through hell and barely lived to tell the tale. "We're here," said Mum. "Briley, have a lovely baby." "Too prissy," said Polly. "Too pimply," said Paul. Polly and Paul looked at Mum and Dad. "What are you doing here?" said Polly. "Finally, we're here for the christening," said Mum. "Vera's christening," said Paula. "It's next weekend," said Paul. Mum looked she was to sag to the floor. Dad looked like he wanted to sag beside her. "We've come on a wrong day," whispered Mum. "You meant we have to go and come back," whispered Dad. "Yes," said Polly. "Oh no, Mum!" "Oh no," said Mum. "Oh no," said Dad. "Bleak!" vomited Vera. "Eek!" wailed Polly. "Gotta go!" She slammed the door. "You mean we can go home?" said Henry. Now? "Yes," whispered Mum. "Whoopee!" screamed Henry. "Hang on, Ralph. Here I come." Horrid Henry, utterly wicked, totally brilliant. His friendish plots will make you ache with laughter. The end.